It's been a fair few years since I hopped into my spaceship and went wandering through the stars in Hello Games' No Man's Sky. I was there on day one and followed the upward trajectory for months after release, but like many, I dropped off after a while. My only interaction with the game came through the news cycle. That was until the PSVR version dropped, the original PSVR version on PS4, and my interest was rekindled. Admittedly, I didn't stay long for the second time around. The original PSVR, as good as it was for its time, just wasn't a great way to experience No Man's Sky. And here we are again, with Hello Games releasing No Man's Sky for Sony's PSVR 2 headset, and once again, I've dropped in for a quick look. Only this time, I've actually stuck around for a long while, over a month actually, and I've put in the hours, possibly even more than I ever did in the regular non-VR version of the game. For those familiar with No Man's Sky, you already know the basics. You'll also know that the game has literally transformed from one thing into another since its release all those years ago. With the developer leaning into the criticism and putting right the many wrongs, No Man's Sky can't really be compared to the product that originally shipped. If you've not played No Man's Sky, or you've somehow missed the rags to riches story of the humble little indie game that could, I'll break it down for you in a very basic way. Think Minecraft, but interstellar. You gather resources and materials, crafting what you need to create your own bases and outposts. There's an economy system that plays in the background too, and you can make your money by wandering the planets, scanning the wildlife and fauna for credits, or you can take on daring missions, fetch quests, or just live the life of a space pirate and make your name as the baddest amnesiac in the galaxy. There's not just one world to explore, but an almost infinite amount, and you're free to go about exploring them as you please. If you want to establish a base of operations on a planet and then rule that little sliver of the galaxy as a murderous lord of war, that's up to you. You can even buddy up with your mates in multiplayer, something that wasn't possible at launch. There's also a guided story mode of sorts that gently pushes you along to reveal the mysteries of the galaxy. That's the mode I got stuck into, and even though I was being guided towards an eventual conclusion, I still found ways to waste hours and hours doing my own thing. And that there is the beauty of No Man's Sky. Much like Minecraft, it's ultimately your story, and your actions write the chapters, so to speak. But how does it all fare in VR? Specifically PlayStation VR 2? Well, I will be honest, I was less than impressed when I first dropped into the game. The opening title loading screen was fairly impressive, to be fair, with the planets and the stars whooshing by my face, but once I was in the actual game, I felt a little bit let down by the presentation. It's not bad, but it's not great, and there was the feeling that I'd seen it all before. It really did remind me of the original PSVR version with its blurry landscapes and low resolution. However, I'm not one to half-arse anything, so I went to the trouble of dusting off the old PS4 Pro, the original PSVR headset, and fiddling around with all the cables to get it all set up again. So yeah, I tried the original, and yet the original is way worse, and I'm grateful to live in a world where it's not my only option to go interstellar sightseeing. I think the problem I've had with No Man's Sky is that I've just been spoiled rotten by some brilliant output on the PSVR 2 headset with the likes of Gran Turismo 7, The Walking Dead, Saints and Sinners, and so on. Admittedly, No Man's Sky's scope is far above most other games available on the headset. How many other VR games on PS5 let you hop in a spaceship, take off from one planet, boost your way into space, have a dogfight with some pirates, and then land on another planet, all without a single second of loading? None. So I think it's fair to give some leeway to the ambition that has led to some less than stellar results. And it's not a blurry, unplayable mess by any means. But if you go in after having enjoyed the sharpness of other PSVR 2 releases, it'll definitely take some getting used to. With the new generation headset comes new generation controllers, and No Man's Sky makes good use of the DualSense pads. Being able to freely move your hands is a blessing and makes simple tasks such as mining and zapping the local creatures really easy. Navigating the building and crafting menus is a little bit fiddly at first, but after a few hours I was flicking between screens with ease. What I haven't managed to adjust to, however, is the flight controls. No Man's Sky goes all the way in making use of the motion controls, and that extends to having you fly your ship with a flight stick. The problem is that it's really hard to get that pinpoint accuracy needed for those intense space dogfights, and I'd much prefer to use the sticks. However, and this is true at the time of publishing, it may well change in a future update, but right now there's no such option and the game is worse off for it. Rather than feeling like an absolute baddie blasting my way through asteroids to hunt down some little space gremlin, I end up relying on the lock-on feature that essentially autopilots my ship and follows whatever it is that I want to blast to pieces. It brings the skill ceiling right the way down to the ground. If a slightly blurry game world, depending on where you are of course, open areas are blurrier, but up close things look good, and less than ideal flight combat controls are my only qualms, then I'd say we're looking at a pretty damn decent game. Considering this didn't cost me a penny, it's a free upgrade if you already own the original game, I would say I've no real right to moan about anything. It's No Man's Sky in VR, arguably the biggest game ever made, and I'm free to wander its many worlds without having to tinker with any PC settings, drivers and all the other nonsense that has relegated my PC to a purely work-focused machine. So yeah, if you've got No Man's Sky in your library, give it a go, see how many hours you can lose. And that is the end of this review. Thank you very much for watching. As always, it's always appreciated. If you did enjoy this video and found it useful, go on down below, hit the like and subscribe buttons, and give the bell icon a quick ding so that you get notified whenever we've got new stuff for you to watch. I've been Chris, you've been gorgeous, and I'll see you on the next one. Until then, cheers my dears.